Welcome to the Livable Communities Demonstration Account Program Overview for 2013. What we'll be covering in this PowerPoint presentation is an overview of the LCDA program, including the purpose, available funding, eligible applicants, changes in the program for 2013, as well as the application submittal and evaluation process. The purpose of the Livable Communities Demonstration Account is twofold. The first is the funds are provided to encourage efficient development within the region. This means connecting development and transit, connecting housing and employment, intensifying land use for more compact development, providing a mix of housing, both types and affordability, conserving, protecting natural resources, and providing infrastructure to connect communities and attract investment. The second part of the purpose is in the name of the program itself, demonstration. Projects that can demonstrate innovative ways to achieve statutory and policy objectives and can be replicable in other communities throughout the region. Development grants include activities that connect development or redevelopment with transit, intensify land uses, connect housing and employment, provide housing mix, and provide connecting or investment attracting infrastructure. Funding available this year is $7.5 million. It is council policy to provide up to 40% of that funding for projects that are located in the center cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. That leaves 60% of the funding available for other participating developed or developing communities. Eligible applicants include LCA participating cities or city HRAs, EDAs, or port authorities. By participating city, we mean cities that have voluntarily agreed to participate in the Livable Communities Local Housing Incentive Program, which requires communities to negotiate affordable and life cycle housing goals with the council and pursue ways to achieve those goals. Counties are also eligible to apply for LCDA funding on behalf of projects that are located in LCA participating communities. Developers, nonprofits, and other community development type organizations are not eligible to apply for LCDA funds. Changes for the LCDA program in 2013 include no pre-development grants will be available this year. They have been available in the past. Pre-development grant funding is available this year in the Council's TOD program. New this year is reimbursement for land acquisition prior to the date of award. That is now an eligible use of LCDA funding. We've added a scoring priority for housing serving large families. Our definition of housing that serves large family is units with 3 bedrooms or more. For scoring, there are a couple of changes of note. This year, the Step 1 score will carry over into the Step 2 process, and funding will be based on projects that meet the point scoring threshold of both steps combined. Also, the housing performance score, which previously was added in the Step 1 process, has now been moved to the end of the Step 2 process. Let's talk specifically about the LCDA development grants. Development grants provide funds to support projects that connect development or redevelopment with transit, intensify land uses, connect housing and employment, provide a mix of housing and affordability, and or provide infrastructure to connect communities and attract investment. A demonstration account project is defined as the development or redevelopment work that through its design and execution will deliver benefits such as housing, connections, and/or jobs to the region, and must be at least commenced within the 3-year term of the grant. This is different than the grant-funded activities. Those are the components of the project described in the application for which funding is sought. We sometimes get applications that have used their grant-funded activities as the description of their project. This is not so. Again, the project is the development or redevelopment work that through its design and execution will deliver benefits to the region. The grant-funded activities are those components that you're seeking funding for. Eligible uses of LCDA funds are broken out into 3 primary categories. The first is basic public infrastructure. This includes or can include improvements to local public streets or new construction of public streets and related infrastructure, including lighting, signs, sidewalks, permanent benches, etc. Can also include public use parking structures, extensions or modifications of local utility lines, connections to transit, including sidewalks, trails, shelters, bike racks, stormwater management improvements, and design and engineering for basic public infrastructure. The second category is site improvements. This includes site acquisition, demolition and removal, and site preparation. A little bit more on the site acquisition. The purpose of allowing the use of LCDA funding for site acquisition is to assist with establishing site control for projects meeting the purposes of the program, not merely to assist with the overall funding of a project. Also, funds can be used to help acquire or otherwise gain site control for a project site or sites that are not previously or currently owned or controlled by the applicant or any current or future subrecipient or other partner to the project. New this year includes funds that can also be used to reimburse a nonprofit or socially responsible for-profit developer, as determined by the participating community, for sites previously acquired within 12 months of the grant application date. And you can see pages 4 and 5 of the program guide for more detail on this, as well as information about eligibility of holding costs. LCDA grant funds may not be used to refinance or supplant other sources of funding available to acquire or gain site control of the project site. The third category of eligible uses is placemaking. Placemaking elements are those functional improvements that serve to create an identity, a focal point of, or gateway to the development, and that attract other investment. Placemaking activities should promote walkability and the use of transit, set the stage for interaction among users of the site, enhance or reinforce the urban qualities of the site and surrounding neighborhood, and play a key role in catalyzing additional private investment. Again, you can see page 4 of the program guide for a complete list of eligible uses. Ineligible uses include some of the following: private use parking, surface parking, trees, sod, and landscaping, unless those items are an integral part of stormwater management system or the construction of new roads. Ineligible costs include building construction and rehabilitation, improvement to county roads. Again, see page 5 of the program guide for a complete list of ineligible uses. Let's talk about the evaluation process. First of all, a project concept plan, or PCP, is required to be submitted for the LCDA program if a full application is expected to be submitted. PCPs are due on April 19th. Staff comments will be mailed back to applicants by May 24th. Full applications are due on July 1st. You can find the PCP application and program guide on the Council's website. A 2-part grant review process is used for the LCDA applications. In step 1, a staff team provides a technical and contextual evaluation of the application. This team also determines the completeness and eligibility of the application and applies the step 1 criteria for scoring. You can find the criteria and the associated points in your program guide. For those projects that meet a minimum score in the step 1 review, a step 2 review is conducted by our Livable Communities Advisory Committee, or LCAC, whose membership is of 13 representatives of 6 areas of expertise. These areas include planning and economic or community development, public and private financing, development and redevelopment, transportation, environment, and site design representatives. You can find the specific step 1 and step 2 criteria and more about the process on pages 16 and 17 of the program guide. We have a 36-month grant term for the LCDA grants with a possible 2-year extension. This extension is administratively approved and requires proof of adequate progress. The 36-month timeline would begin when grants are awarded, the end of December of this year, 2013, and would end the end of December 2016. Grant-funded activities would need to be completed within that grant term and at least commencement of the project development component. Let's go over briefly the LCDA application. I don't know if you have that in front of you. If not, you can find a copy of that on the Council's website. The application is broken into several different sections. We're looking for your overall project description and project design information. There are also questions related to current and planned land uses, connections and specific outcomes. We'll take a look at the tools and processes and partnerships you have used to develop your project, as well as any zoning or regulatory needs that have already been accomplished or yet still need to be done. We'll ask questions about the grant-funded activities for which you're seeking LCDA funding, and then some financial information that you'll be providing regarding sources and uses, as well as some tax capacity information that we're collecting. The application itself has not changed a lot from previous applications, but there are a few specific areas within the application that I want to touch base on, provide a little bit more information about so that you're clear about what we're asking, what has changed, and the information that we're looking for. That first area is our land use table. This has been updated, revised, and modified from last year. Hopefully we'll be providing a little bit more clarity to you, the applicant, as to the type of information that we're looking for. What you'll find in this table is it's broken out into 2 parts. The top part of the table asks for specific land use changes that are happening within the site of your proposed project. There you'll find questions relating to the existing uses on the site. We want to know what's there right now before you begin your project. We want to know if any of those existing uses will be removed for your project to move forward. Then we ask about uses that are going to be added to that site by the project that you're proposing. And the final column, of course, is the total number of uses that are anticipated in the project site. That is calculated by starting with what's existing, subtracting what will be removed from the project site, then adding in those new uses that are identified in your proposed project. If the type of use that you're proposing to add to your site or that is existing on your site does not appear in the list, please use the space allowed under the other category. If you find that you need more space to identify land uses within your project site, you can give us a call and we can open up that table and allow you more space. The bottom half of the table gives you an opportunity to provide more information regarding the size of the change of land uses of the project site. So when you click on any one of those rows within the bottom half of the table, you'll be given an option for a measurement of size of the land use change. It could either be acres or square footage, whatever is most appropriate for the type of use that you're proposing. Again, there we're looking for what's currently existing on the site, the size of uses that will be removed for your project, the size of the uses that are to be added by your project, and that again will provide us with the total size of uses on the site upon project completion. The next area is in the housing section. Here we've added some additional questions to give us a better picture of what's on the site, what's being proposed, and what's adjacent to the site, as well as some questions regarding bedroom sizes and the removal of existing housing on the site. We're asking for housing density here, both current and planned. Also the current housing mix on the site. There we're looking for the type of housing, the quantity, as well as the affordability level. Council identifies affordable housing as housing that is affordable to households at 60% of area median income. Question number 3, we ask for the housing mix on adjacent parcels. So much like the current housing mix, we want to know not only what's on your site or being proposed on the site, but also what's right next to it. So there we also want to know the housing types that are adjacent, the quantity, and the affordability levels. Question 4 provides information on the type of the housing planned. We've expanded this list, some specifically related to senior housing. We've now added 2 additional categories which include assisted living and memory care. Here we ask for the number of buildings, the stories, as well as the affordability, number of units, and the affordability range. Question number 5 went you to detail the number of anticipated bedroom sizes for the total number of units expected to be produced. Again, we ask for the number of bedrooms as well as the affordability level that's expected. And question number 6 is new. Please indicate the number and type of residential uses that will be removed from the site. We've already asked in the previous table the overall land use change that you're expecting. Here we're looking for some more detail about that proposed change. And again, asking you to specify affordability range for any housing that's expected to be removed. The next section that we're going to look at is the jobs information. The table that you see here on your screen actually comes from our TOD application, but it's exactly the same table as you'll find in the LCDA application. Here we're looking for information on the number of both construction jobs and permanent jobs. For construction jobs, we're looking for those that may be created as a result of your project by December 31st, 2015. For permanent jobs, we'd like information on jobs created by the end of our grant term, which would be December 31st of 2016. We're also asked questions regarding the method that was used to calculate your job estimates and whether or not these estimates were based on a build-to-suit or a speculative formula. The council's definition of living wage is 130% of the poverty guideline for a family of 4. And for 2013, that equates to $36,015. Now the attachments, both required and allowed attachments. All applications will be required to include an aerial map and a site map that will be produced using the council's Make a Map program. Some of you may be familiar with this program. We've used it in the past. It was not available last year, but it has been resurrected and reconstructed and redesigned for use by applicants this year. So again, both an aerial map with the project site boundaries clearly marked and a site map will need to be generated and submitted with your application. The third attachment is a site plan. The site plan needs to show your project in detail and include a scale bar, a north arrow, a title block listing the project name. Your site plan also needs to include the following: the location and identification of existing and planned buildings, existing and planned streets, transit stops within or adjacent to the development, sidewalks and trail routes, open and or public spaces, location of all placemaking elements, if you're requesting any, location of surface stormwater elements, again, if you're requesting any, and any proposed phases, if applicable to your project. Please make certain that all the elements discussed in the application narrative are fully identified on your site plan. That includes both grant-funded activities that you're requesting, as well as other activities that are going to be occurring in your project that you're not necessarily requesting LCDA funding for. As example, you may be proposing rain gardens or placemaking elements or infiltration ponds that you're not seeking our funds for, but if you talk about them in the narrative as a part of your project, we want to see them identified and marked on your site plan. You'll also need to submit an Excel worksheet, which will include sources and uses information, as well as some information on tax capacity of your proposed project. A local resolution of support is also required with your application. That can be submitted either with your application on July 1st, or you have a 30-day extension time for those applications, and they can be submitted no later than August 1st. You'll find in your application guide and attached to the application 3 samples of resolutions. One is for municipalities submitting a single grant application for a single project. The second one is for municipalities submitting multiple grant applications for multiple projects. And the third is for counties that may be submitting applications on behalf of participating communities. You also have up to 5 one-page images of your choice that you can submit with your application. These can include elevations, section drawings, perspectives, photographs, whatever you would like to submit that will provide us with a better understanding of your project or some key element of your project that you want to be sure to have highlighted. All optional images must be presented in both a PDF format and a hard copy. And for all of these attachments, you will need to follow our naming conventions. Now I'll walk you through the application process, just briefly here, step by step. Again, the PCPs are due on April 19th. Staff comments will be returned to you by May 24th. Full application is due on July 1. Again, resolution can be included with that full application, or that can be submitted by August 1st. You're allowed to submit up to 6 PCPs for review, but limited to 3 full applications. If you submit more than one application, you must rank the applications according to your priorities in the resolution. Once you have all your application materials together, you'll need to submit 1 electronic copy of the application and all the attachments. As already mentioned, you'll need to follow the naming conventions. You'll submit the application in a Word format and the sources and uses and tax capacity information file in the Excel worksheet. All other attachments will need to be converted to PDF and submitted separately, so please do not combine them all into one file. When you submit your application and the attachments in the subject line of your email, please just indicate how many emails you will be sending in order to get us all the information for your application. So just note that this is one of 5 or one of 4. Once we receive your submittals, we will contact you and confirm that we have received all of those that you have listed in your subject line. After your application has been found complete and eligible for review and to move through our process, you'll be contacted and asked to submit 20 hard copies on 8.5 by 11 3-hole punch paper. If you have maps or graphics that need to be copied on larger paper, like 11 by 17, you'll be requested to accordion fold those into your application submittal. Please binder or paper clip each individual application, but do not add any other type of binding, such as spiral binding, staples, a cover sheet, dividers, or put your application in a folder. If applications are received with any of these types of binding or covers on them, they'll be returned to the applicant and asked to be removed and resubmitted. Staff will be verifying the eligibility and completeness of your application. Once that's been determined and you've been asked to send in your 20 hard copies, your application will move on to the Step 1 scoring project. The staff team will determine whether the project meets the objective point threshold for that step. If so, your application will move on to our Step 2 process, where the LCAC will review the proposal and may invite applicants in for a question and answer session. Applicants will not be allowed to submit additional information after the submittal deadline unless requested by council staff. If there's any follow-up questions or clarifications needed, staff will contact applicants directly. Completeness, just a note on completeness, that will include whether or not all the submittals were received, whether they are legible and usable, and whether all the questions were answered. Once your application has moved on to the Step 2 process, the LCAC will score all the proposals and will make the final funding recommendations to the council's Community Development Committee. Throughout the process, staff will update city representatives on the progress and status of the applications. We will also be posting our evaluation schedule on our website. Project representatives, this includes both the city representative as well as the developer and our consultant on a project, are always welcome and encouraged to attend our LCAC meetings to hear the discussion and to better understand the evaluation process. Just another look at the calendar. PCPs are due for the LCDA program on April 19th. Full applications are due on July 1st. The last date to submit your local resolution is August 1st. The Step 1 evaluation will be conducted in August through the first part of September. Step 2 evaluation occurs with the LCAC in September through November. It's expected that funding recommendations will go to the Community Development Committee in November of this year, and then on to the full Metropolitan Council for final approval and awarding of the grants in December of this year. If you have any questions about the Livable Communities demonstration account, you can contact me at the following number or email address. If you have questions about the LCA TOD program, please feel free to contact Adam Olitsky, and here is his phone number as well as his email address.